you get pain in your wrist, pain in your shoulders, neck, lower back. I couldn't even open the fridge. I couldn't walk. I couldn't use my hands. Like literally, I was in bed for days. It doesn't stop. Sorry. I was so active. I had a job. I'm a happy person. Now I feel 15 years older. I feel 60, not 45. I'm not able to work as a physical therapist. I had to drop my job last year. I cannot dance. I cannot sail. I cannot kayak. I cannot do anything that I used to do. So basically, I survive every day. And I have a fear of symptoms coming back or flaring up. You feel like a bomb that is about to explode every single day. You don't know when it's going to hit you.
Hey everybody for joining us. Thank you so much. Welcome to RX Pilled. This channel is dedicated to discussing the very real dangers that revolve around the pharmaceutical approach of medicine. In these sections, we interview those who have been harmed by these chemicals or their loved ones and have found the courage to come up here and share the truth. Right now with me, joining us is Daniela. Hi, Daniela. Thank you for coming here.
Hi, Dom. Thank you for having me.
Sure, it's an honor to have anybody.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on a platform.
Of course. Anybody willing to come forward and speak out, come out of the closet, so to say, and say their truth is something we dearly appreciate. So thank you. So Daniela, could you tell us a little bit about yourself before the incident that changed your life? How were you as a person? What did you do? Where you're from?
Yes, so I'm originally from Romania. I came in America 20 years ago on my own. So I've been practicing physical therapy for 20 years. I'm married. I have a child, 14 years old. And we've been very, very active. We like to sail. We race sailing boats, kayaking, partying, dancing. I love dancing. A very active family. We actually famous in our community that we gather people all the time and we do trips, even in other countries. We had our wedding in Colombia and we gather all the people and try to, teach people that community is very important and outside door activities are very important and we can raise the kids together as a community.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, and I was blessed to have a very beautiful life, and then this happened.
Yeah, that's usually the case, right? A lot of people that come up here or speak with me, they say how their life was going well and everything was great, and then going to see that appointment, that fateful appointment with their doctor, that changed their life forever.
Yes. Not even 5 minutes with the doctor. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm sorry.
You think you get over yourself and you get over all this, and then so for a year and a half I couldn't even talk about it. My mother didn't even know. My friends didn't know. And I thought, I'm ready to speak. I'm sorry, just give me 2 seconds.
Please take your time.
I was so active. I had a job, so active. I'm a happy person, and everybody knows that about me. And I do so much with my daughter, with my husband. I used to be beautiful, going out to work out every day, and now I feel 15 years older. I feel 60, not 45. I'm not able to work as a physical therapist. I had to drop my job last year. I cannot dance. I cannot sail. I cannot kayak. I cannot do anything that I used to do. So basically, I survive every day, and I have a fear of symptoms coming back or flaring up. This fear that, you feel like a bomb that is about to explode every single day. You don't know when it's going to hit you. And I'm lucky compared with other people that I saw on those groups that I belong to. Thousands of people who their lives are ruined from one pill. I feel blessed that I'm not there in a wheelchair or dead or in the mental institution like my fellow Floxies. I live my life 2 ways. Being grateful, I wake up every day and I can function in the house, be somehow a mother, a wife, appreciate that, but also I always have a fear that the symptoms going to get worse or I'm going to get new symptoms, because for a year and a half now, every few months I have a new symptom, and you think, when this is going to end? Some of the symptoms are debilitating. I stay days in the bed with heart issues, tachycardia. It doesn't stop for days, okay? Anxiety, panic attacks. It's ironic because I never believe people who were complaining about that they have anxiety. I thought that's just an excuse to not do things, and I apologize to them now. Now I do believe anxiety exists, and it's horrible and it's debilitating. It stops you in your track and it comes out of nowhere, and that's the worst part. I said, let me push myself, let me go back to do my life. So I said, let's go to Italy. I want my daughter to see the world. So we took a trip last year. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. The anxiety that I had, and never mind anxiety, it was even worse. Feelings that you cannot connect to reality. You're constantly in your head. I think psychosis is called. The first time in my life I understand people with mental disabilities was a matter of few hours. I couldn't connect to reality. I couldn't respond to reality, but I was aware of it in my head. And that was the first time I understand, oh my God, it's hard to have a mental disability because you're aware of what's going on, but you cannot communicate with the world. And that was very scary. So for me to travel, it's challenge. Here at home, I feel safe because I have the symptoms, I go back to the bed, but to be able to have a job, to travel, to function normally, it's very challenging. When you have so multi-system failure, I have tendon issues that comes out of nowhere. I just eat, right? I have a year I couldn't even open the fridge, right? Or do dishes or basic things or wash my hair. Now I gain that back, so I'm very grateful. But out of nowhere, you get pain in your wrist, pain in your shoulders, neck, lower back, Never mind, Achilles tendons is very common with the ciprofloxacin, and it's not a pain, the typical pain. I had pain before. I'm a physical therapist. I saw people in pain all the time. It's not the typical pain of a tendon inflamed. It's a stabbing pain. It's like a sharp stabbing pain that literally you cannot move on or continue walking or continue doing things because it stops you. It's like a burning, stabbing pain, and it's very specific. I actually can teach anatomy based on the tendons that they hurt me at times. I can see that I can feel the quadriceps tendon pain, the patella tendon pain. Is just so specific, and it comes out of nowhere. So basically, it stops you to do anything outdoors, because if that happens, what are you gonna do? You have to stop. Because I know if I go continue, you can get the risk of ruptures of the tendons, like so many fellow fluxes happen. There's so many burning pain around my eyes, burning pain, my head, half of my body. You can actually see when it burns, my skin gets so red. Here, I had such burning wrist that I had to put it in the ice just to cool down. It was so horrible. Out of nowhere again, it's like somebody sits in your heart and you cannot even talk. I took this just to say, I'm gonna go to bed. Out of nowhere, for hours, you stay in bed with something on your heart, like shortness of breath associating with. I tried therapies. I tried, so far, keto helped me with neuropathy, by the way, if you want to try it. But anything else, I'm on magnesium all the time, supplements all the time. So I think that helps, but you cannot tell, how it is. So I'm trying a lot of therapies. Basically, I'm trying to keep my sanity every day.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that, and I want to stress on a few points that you just made here. So first of all, people need to understand this, that sometimes all it takes is one pill. One pill, that's it. Because these compounds have such a tremendous toxic potential that your safety is just not guaranteed. And you just cannot trust the statistics that you read in the insert, because unfortunately they're fraudulent. And if you don't believe so, then you're naive. Think about it this way. If there was an orchard of apples and every day 100 people came there and ate some apples, and out of these 100 people, 10 people died, and then 10 other people got disabled, would you still eat apples from that orchard, right? No, it doesn't make sense. But yet somehow people think that it is sensible when it comes to pharmaceuticals. Also because of this, perpetuating lie that these things are extremely rare and they happen 1 in a million or 1 in 100,000. That's not the case. Another thing I wanted to stress out is this delayed toxicity phenomenon. It is exhibited in all these drugs that have this genotoxic potential to them. So people take the drug, and I've talked to a lot of people that were floxed and people that took Accutane and other drugs of a sort, and some of them were completely fine while they were on the medication. And after they stopped, all of a sudden, in almost regular intervals of several weeks or a month, they just, get more issues, new issues, first of all. And
develop autoimmune disease.
Yeah, whatever. Autoimmune diseases, vision issues, tendon damage, cartilage damage, digestive issues, cognitive issues, and these things just pile up month after month after month. And it seems like a never-ending ride in hell. And I can relate to that because that's exactly what happened with me. When I took Accutane, I stopped it after about 2 months or a month and a half because I had some brain fog and cognitive issues. And I thought that once I stopped it, that's it, right? That it's going to ease up and everything will be fine. But then what transpired was every month from that day, I developed new health issues. And it seemed like a never-ending nightmare. So this is the delayed toxicity phenomenon that is not discussed almost at all in medical education. And this perception that people get side effects while they're on the drug, and then when they stop the drug, side effects relieve and start feeling better again. It's not necessarily the truth.
Right. And what bothers me when you tell the medical staff, they assume it's an allergy. Oh, you got an allergy reaction. No, it's not an allergy, and I have to contradict them all the time. Allergy, if you get an allergen, you react and then you remove the allergen, then you're fine. when you have symptoms after the medication is discontinued? How do you explain that? It's not an allergy.
This has nothing to do with an allergy. An allergy is an immune-mediated reaction. It has nothing to do with this. This is not anything completely different than allergies.
But this is what I hear every single time when I go to the doctor for whatever issue. Oh, you had no, it's not an allergy, and they refuse to even consider it. And maybe 3 minutes on Google, you find out all about it, but they refuse to go that way and search maybe this patient, or I'm pretty sure I'm not the only patient who complain about it. Do your own research as a doctor. Don't just ignore patient after patient after patient, because you can be that patient one day, or your family members can be the patient, Well, so this ignorance, I don't blame pharma as much as I blame the doctors, because pharma, again, it's a company. They want to make profit, they want to make money, but the doctor is the one that takes the responsibility to give you that pill. And if you don't know the side effects, the doctor gave me these pills, told me I was reluctant to take it, and he said, don't worry, the side effect is neuropathy, and if it happens, it's just temporary.
Yeah, I want to stress further on some of these points that you're making. So first of all, yeah, doctors, medical students, they need to wake up. They need to understand that what they're being taught throughout the medical education is far from being the whole picture of the truth at the best. And unfortunately, the way I see it, they're being taught a lot of lies. And so they need to understand the influence that these industries have on their education, on what they're being taught, on the narrative of how to practice medicine. And they need to go online and do their own research when they get their license and the power to prescribe these pharmaceuticals. It's not an excuse. If you take the oath to do no harm and to ease the suffering of others, then you need to bear that responsibility on your shoulders accordingly. And that's not what's happening today. Another thing I wanted to stress out was this really harrowing sentence that you said, that I don't feel my age anymore. And this is the same exact sentence I hear from every single person who got harmed by these drugs. And unfortunately, a lot of teenagers, a lot of people in their early 20s that just say that overnight, from being a 20-year-old, I feel like I'm trapped in the body of a 90-year-old person. And it's just, you couldn't make these things up. I mean, you couldn't, not even horror movies or sci-fi movies can portray something as horrific as this reality. And so
you hear all the stories, and I read so many hundreds and hundreds of stories. They are the same symptoms, the same feelings, the same emotion, the same description. It's impossible to be wrong. Hundreds of thousands of people to be wrong. And why would I spend my time doing this? Researching and being on face groups and fighting this when I have a life to live. So we cannot all fake it. It's impossible.
Yeah, first of all, agreed completely. This whole notion that you cannot listen to what people are saying online because these are just obscure forums or threads or groups, it's not science, is actually ridiculous when you think about it, because when you have countless thousands of people all sharing the same exact natural history that happened to them after the exposure to the medication, this warrants concern, this warrants investigation. This is not just an anecdote. And anecdotes are case studies. This is how basic science is conducted. You make an observation, and based on that observation, you follow up with research. Mm-hmm. And this is why these videos are important, because I don't want these testimonials, these stories, to just be obscure stories of some individual with an alias on a forum. I want the doctors to see that these are real people with real faces that had a life, and this happened to them. And so the more stories like this we accumulate, I think the bigger the impact will be. Now, I want to take you back a bit to that day when you went to that doctor's visit. Why were you going there? What was your diagnosis? If you can please elaborate on that, please.
Yes, so I had to wait 2 months to see this doctor. He's at UHealth, ENT, and supposedly very good. So it was very busy, so I had to wait 2 months to wait for this appointment. I had a very light massage at this area 5 months prior that appointment, and that's going to be an interesting story because it took me a year to realize what happened. So I had this guy massaging my neck, and he pressed here for 3 seconds. 3 seconds. I jumped off the table with choking, suffocating, feeling of dying. I lost my hearing at this. Half of my hearings lost, tinnitus, choking, difficulty swallowing for months. I went for numerous doctor appointments. They told me I'm crazy. These symptoms are in my head. Obviously, my husband was next to me, so he knows it's not invented. They took an MRI and they saw the mastoid bones are full of fluid. Usually they're empty. So after I saw again numerous doctors, even infection doctors, because they call it mastoiditis, it was an inflammation, not an infection. I went to this ENT doctor, like I said, 5 months later. He recommended Cipro because mastoiditis is supposedly infection, and that's the standard procedure. And I told him, listen, I went to 2 infectionist guys at doctors. They told me there is no infection. They rule out infection because I don't have any other symptoms, fever, whatever, what is associated with mastoiditis.
You don't have inflammatory symptoms, systemic wide inflammatory symptoms, as you said, right?
Right. So just the MRI showed these bones are filled with fluid. So he said, well, I need to rule out the infection. And I insisted. The 2 infectionist guys rule out the infection. It has to be something else. And I was trying to lead him into understanding the mechanism of injury and the other symptoms that they have nothing to do with mastoiditis, right? No. He didn't even want to hear it. And he wrote this prescription on the computer. And while he was writing, and I said, what are you prescribing? And he said, ciprofloxacin. And I said, wasn't that an antibiotic that has bad side effects? Oh no, it's just neuropathy, and if you get it, it's temporary. So you should not worry. You're doing the right thing. I remember like yesterday, you're doing the right thing. So I left from there, and I didn't take it. I was reluctant to take it.
Too many times I hear this where people feel this intuitive sense. They have this intuition, the gut feeling. I had the same thing. They go to their doctor. The doctor makes all these, reassuring claims that the medication is safe and there's nothing to worry about. But you leave the appointment kind of feeling concerned. And I remember also the night that I took the first pill that damaged me, I was thinking to myself, what am I doing? This does not seem right. Again and again, I hear these stories of patients being reluctant to take this medication, not being compliant, as doctors would like to say, with their treatment. And then they're being coerced by their physicians to take it. And then everything changes. Also, could you give me the timeline when were you prescribed to Cipro? What
yes, November 2018.
November 2018.
November 2018, yes. 1st November, I think. Yeah, in the beginning of November 2018. And then for a week, I didn't take it. But the symptoms got worse. The tinnitus, the headache, the choking, all these symptoms got worse. And I called my primary physician. And I said, listen, I was given this by the ENT. What do you think? And she went to my history and she checked and she told me, when you had the gallbladder surgery in 2017, you're given Cipro, prophylactic.
Did you know that, by the way?
And I didn't know, and I was like, oh my God, I took this medication and I didn't know. Because I know they give antibiotics when you get a surgery to prevent, but I didn't even know was Cipro. And I said, oh, in my head. So I took it before and nothing happened. And let me tell you what I discovered afterwards. So I'm gonna take it. So I remember I took the pill again with such a reluctancy feeling. I was at work and I told my friend there, I said, listen, I'm taking the first pill. You're my witness. If something happens, you know. And nothing happened, and I was so happy. That morning, the evening, I took the second pill. Nothing happened, and then I said, okay, I'm out of the woods. Nothing happened. It's okay. The next day, I took the pill in the morning, went to work. The afternoon, I had a little gathering for my daughter, popcorn, movie, blah, blah, blah. We went to bed. I took the second pill of that day. So the fourth pill in total. Half an hour later, the nightmare broke loose.
Half an hour after the second pill that you took. Half an hour after the second pill. Wow.
Yes.
I just, again, you're bringing so many important facts here. So, for example, people need to understand that just because you responded okay to a certain
One
content,
time.
one
Yes.
time, exactly, doesn't mean that you'll continue to respond to it in the same manner. Because what we have here is a cumulative toxicity.
Yes.
You know, the damage builds up until it becomes manifest. So just because.
So now in hindsight, yes, the fact that I took in 2017 and nothing happened so major, because it happens, and I'll tell you what I figured out. The second time was enough for my body to explode.
Yeah.
So you're right, it's a cumulative effect in the body of this poison. That's it. And it was very, very scary. Oh my God, very scary. I do not wish to anyone, like anyone, it's so scary. The involuntary movements that I had, my head, my hands were flying. My legs were flying. I had this jerky movements and insomnia. I didn't sleep the whole night. I mean, and I sleep easy. I love sleeping always. Okay, no sleep, diarrhea, burning from my mouth through all my digestive system, urinary system, and the rectum. Burning, diarrhea. But this I know it's kind of very typical medication, these gastrointestinal issues, which were scary. But the fact that I couldn't control my hands, my legs, and my head was very, very scary. So that morning, I was waiting for a decent time to call my doctor. And again, what the doctor said, you're having a panic attack. You have to calm down. And then I called the ENT, the one that gave me the medication, and he said, well, go to the hospital immediately. So I went to the hospital. They look at you again like you're crazy. They did all the tests. Nothing shows on the test. I told them what I believe it happened. Dismissed completely.
So wait, you tell them I take my second pill. Half an hour later, I start getting involuntary movements, burning sensations throughout my entire digestive tract, severe insomnia.
Diarrhea, burning. No, nothing.
And they tell you not the drug.
No, there's nothing wrong. Go home. So I went home. And I went home and I didn't sleep for a week. I really thought I'm going to die because of lack of sleep. For a week, I was crying every night trying to sleep. Try melatonin, milk, anything to relax me, to fall asleep, nothing. But and every time when you fall asleep, your body is jerking. So even if your brain is able to relax, once you fall asleep, something is moving, but very aggressive. You know, like you put your hand in electricity, very and painful. That contraction of the body is so painful and it's so scary. I feel even my heart is going in the shock. You know, so that was a week in insomnia, and of course, my husband researched all this, and people like me every single day. You know, you can find every new patient, new victims every day going through the same.
So I assume you didn't continue taking the medication.
Oh, of course not. No, I didn't. Of course, after the research, my husband did the immediate research. The third day, I started taking magnesium because FDA says there that this medication flushes the magnesium out of the body. I obviously supplement with magnesium, lots of magnesium. A week later, my tendon, my wrist tendon, I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't open the fridge door. I had braces, I had to work, and thank God my assistant were actually treating patients because I was not able to treat patients. I was typing so slowly with pain just to, keep my job and not get fired. Anxiety, this anxiety and panic attacks, it's so horrible that you don't have control over, and it's debilitating because you cannot go to. How many times I have to leave work because of the anxiety? How many times my husband had to pick me up? I went to the hospital. What are the symptoms? Tinnitus, hearing loss, burning pain, all the body, from the toes to the head and the eyes. January, I think, yes. I start having knee pain, shoulder pain, C7 here, all these tendons, lower back. The whole muscular system was in so in pain and stiff, like you're an old person. 6 months. 6 months, I start having the heart issues, which is hit me at work again. I couldn't talk with patients. I was like whispering because I was having shortness of breath. Go to the cardiologist, test. Nothing shows. Oh yeah, then I had to drop my job in May, June. I couldn't talk with patients. I couldn't talk because of the shortness of breath. And then I decided to leave my job, thinking I'm gonna give myself rest. Maybe I'm gonna recover and go back. But after that, another episode started. We went, we cannot eat out meat, because if there's antibiotic in the meat, you're like poisoning yourself again.
Do you have small farms that raise grass-fed organic?
I do. Yes, it's called the box. They send you from farms, or I buy organic chicken or whatever meats I eat has to be organic, because that experience really set me back so much. We went out to a restaurant last year in October, I think.
So you're
and I had chicken.
You're saying they flox the food that we eat as well?
They treat it with antibiotics, that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But we are repoisoned, basically, if we eat these antibiotics in. So what happened, a few hours later, I remember all my symptoms went back stronger than before. And this is the fear. You think the more time passes, you heal, and the symptoms going away little by little, and then it comes back even worse. And that's the scary part. I couldn't walk. I couldn't use my hands. Like, literally, I was in bed for days. And then goes away. With my case, it goes away. And then it comes back.
So on and off of these
Yes.
depressive flares. It's like there's an advocate against Roaccutane. He says this kind of funny quote that calls it Accutane, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
And it's horrifically ironic, but it's like that with all these drugs, right? It's just, you never feel safe. You never know how you will be a week from now, because your body is just completely unstable. Mm-hmm. It's
and the FDA is warning about these things. You heard about the aorta rupture. The blood vessels are rupturing in the body over as a side effect. Okay, so with that, I live every day. I have here some arteries. I feel it all the time, about to burst, and I feel the blood streaming and pressuring out of nowhere.
It makes perfect sense, because these class of antibiotics are known to damage connective tissue, and
correct.
And the vessel wall is composed, obviously, from connective tissue.
So one morning, I had such a situation here again with this feeling. I collapsed. I collapsed on the couch, and we went to the ER, and you tell them what happened, nothing. They just dismiss you. They give you the MRI, the CT scan, your brain is fine, but the nurse took, the blood pressure, laying down and sitting down and in between, and he said, this is abnormal, because it's the opposite. You lose blood pressure, your blood pressure goes down upon this test, but yours goes up. And I said, yes, I know, and I feel it in my heart, and I feel it here. The doctor comes, dismisses the nurse. Sorry, there's nothing wrong with you. Go home. And here we go. You go home.
Doctors also, a lot of them, they don't like to encounter difficult cases. They like to encounter something that is, straight out from the textbook, something that they're familiar with. And
it's okay. Tell me. You don't know. I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm sorry. And that's it. Don't tell me, it's an anxiety attack. It's in your head. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't tell me that.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. It's something that is continuously happening. I've experienced that from multiple doctors myself. Just because you are ignorant and you have no idea what's going on, don't give me this cop-out answer that I have a mental health issue. Because mental health doesn't give you dry eyes. Mental health doesn't reduce your testosterone in a lab value to that of a 90-year-old man. Mental health doesn't destroy your joints. It doesn't. As much as we like to take the label of somatization, and say that it can cause all sorts of things, no, I'm sorry. But somatization doesn't cause your tendons to rupture, or all these horrific things that these people encounter, and this disgusting gaslighting and dismissal and denialism that they encounter every time they look for answers from the establishment. And I'm not surprised, because this is the establishment that is being funded and that is being, pampered by the industry. So, that's what you get.
And what it bothers me also is that I went back to that doctor for a follow-up appointment just to tell him, to warn him and make his own research and avoid poisoning other people. So it was very nice. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't threatening or anything like that. So I brought this much documentation from the FDA, printed out from everything that I gathered, and give it to him. And I said, listen, you might want to take a look of this, because this is real. In order to avoid this situation to other patients, maybe you want to take a look. He took them, because I gave it to him, his hand, and by the time after he told me the braces were before and all this, or his answer, he gave it to me back. I don't need this. So to me, it was like, wow, you just have a patient that comes with one thing, you give him a pill, complaining of totally different are the symptoms, and you don't even want to take a look, at least out of respect, take them and then throw them in the trash. I think it would be very important, because you asked me, what should I tell the doctors? I tell the doctors, report the complaint, because FDA changes regulations based on the reports. And if you don't report, they cannot be aware of this. So I believe from 100% of these victims, 10% are reported, or even less. If the doctors will report at least one thing, report the complaints. So the FDA has a real data based on which they can make decisions,
Yeah. Completely.
Do you think that guy reported? Of course not.
Of course not. Yeah. When I contacted the prescribing physician who gave me the death pill, Accutane, he just said, nope, can't be the pill. Sorry, can't help you, and good luck. And this is a man that I shook his hand. I will, by the way, state his name here. I have no problem doing so. His name was Dr. Yoram Hart. The conversation that I had with him was just 20 minutes, and he was extremely reassuring. He was super nice, nonchalant, shook my hand, asked me what kind of doctor I want to become. And after that happened to me, he didn't care.
No follow-up, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, and so I feel reporting is number one solution in all this, because again, if all these thousands of victims that now I know the past year and a half would be reported, would be a bigger red flag for the medical institution, for FDA, for CDC. And if this is not done, how otherwise FDA is going to take, even though FDA now the past 2 years, maybe you heard, they put so many, they added so many side effects to the list. But do you think the doctors know about it? So that's another thing that I feel it's missing. How come the FDA releasing those reports that you should not give this antibiotic unless it's a life-threatening infection and so on, and the doctors don't know about it? How come is that happening? There is a link that is missing here.
I'll ask you this. How come it takes the FDA almost 4 decades, to come up with a black box warning about the long-term disabling
that's another thing
that happens under the drug? It's because they have no incentive, in doing so, because they are also being funded by these same industries. And this whole system is so disgustingly corrupt. It's a joke. It is. You cannot trust what is so-called FDA approved. It's a joke. And sadly, that is the truth. Same goes with so many other pharmaceuticals that caused so much harm and damage. Vioxx, when that was released by Merck, love these people at Merck, how many people had to die? How many people had to die before this drug was withdrawn? The companies, they know.
Of course they know. Yes, of course.
Compounds. And the problem is we just cannot trust our governments. We cannot trust the regulating bodies that are supposed to do their job, and they're not doing their job. And the media is also not doing their job. And
oh yes, media are bought anyway. So
that's the problem. We are led to believe this false narrative that modern medicine is here to improve our lives. Better living through chemistry.
not anymore. Not for the last 2 decades at least.
More. It's just not the case, unfortunately. I wish people, would listen to people like you, like me, like every other.
No, it's very funny that you mentioned this because they don't listen. Very few listen. In my attempt to bring awareness to all my friends and every people that I meet, every person I meet, I came across, make them actually find out that they were being fluxed. Friends that they didn't know why you have fibromyalgia, why you have this autoimmune disease. I try to have them look back what happened a few months before you start having those symptoms. And it turns out that they are on Cipro. They couldn't believe it, I know I make a very little difference, but I'm not going to stop talking. Some of friends are already tired of this. But you know what? This is my life. It becomes your life, and we have no choice but talk. And one thing about these FQ antibiotics, another bad thing is that you're not allowed to take any anti-inflammatory. So another fear I have, if I get sick with corona, right? Or any other disease or any other maybe car accident that I'm required to take anti-inflammatory, we cannot take anti-inflammatory because it exacerbates the symptoms. I had this experience happen to me. I had an abscess. My tooth was inflamed, the root, and I was in excruciating pain for 3 nights in a row. And I said, damn it, let me take one ibuprofen. It's not going to kill me. And I did. And oh my God, remember the insomnia and the jerk movements? It came immediately. So the whole night I was so scared that provoke again another episode. And I learned I cannot even take one pill of anti-inflammatory for the rest of my life because it's going to exacerbate my symptoms. So I know
I can tell you
my future is doomed,
Yeah, it's the whole thing is absolutely insane. What do you think about them trying to use chloroquine right now?
Oh my God, it's crazy. It's crazy. Actually, there is a study made and it was sent to Donald Trump to warn him about this on our Facebook groups. He has no clue. Obviously, he has no clue what's going on. And I found it very scary. You rather fight with this virus than take this medication with horrible side effects. This is my opinion.
100% agreed. I would rather fight corona any day than put a genotoxic, horrific poison into my body.
And I don't understand the mechanism that is to kill a parasite. This is a virus. So why would you bring such a horrible medication into this situation, knowing that there is a difference between a parasite and virus? So this medication is made to kill a parasite. Why would you use it to kill a virus?
Well, first off, you can make a lot of money now off of that medication, right? So many people have corona now, and it's a worldwide pandemic. Let's give everybody chloroquine. So if anybody's listening to this right now, be wary, because these drugs and their effects can be extremely devastating, as you can hear right now.
And it takes your life away, literally. A lot of people dying from it, or the rest of your life you're disabled, you lose your jobs and you lose your marriage and you lose your status. It just changes your life forever.
It's degrading because people from all walks of life, they are exposed to these medications. Some of them are very successful, highly motivated, ambitious individuals that have built a respectable life. They're respected in their community, they have a lot of friends, they're respected by their peers, by their family. And then when this thing happens to you, you get gaslit by the medical establishment, and they turn your family against you, and you're ridiculed. And it's extremely degrading to find yourself in that position, because we have people with acknowledged diseases and issues like cancer or MS, etc., and they're recognized, and they receive the proper recognition and respect and acknowledgement. But people that are drug injured, we're just the unicorns of the medical world. We don't exist. We're myths.
Yes, and that's the most painful, that this disability is not acknowledged. This problem is not acknowledged, and that is our worst, because if it would be acknowledged, there would be research done, there would be work done to find a way to heal us, right? But since you dismiss the problem, we have to deal with the problem and you denying it, and there is no future for us because there's no research done to maybe find treatment.
Exactly.
You know?
Why would you, if, labeling these compounds as potentially being so toxic, that would hurt the sales, wouldn't it?
There are 20 to 30 billion of prescription written for these FQ antibiotics in the United States only. Imagine how many people are suffering, and how many people are suffering not knowing the cause,
Yeah.
There's explosion of autoimmune disease everywhere, and nobody asking how come, this is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, we're poisoning our bodies every day, and it's just became a norm. Pop your pills.
Yes, pop your pills.
Even if the prescription rates in America are higher than ever before, people are sicker than ever before. Mm-hmm. So obviously something isn't really working, right, with this whole paradigm. Because if it was, we wouldn't be so chronically ill. Almost every second person in the States now is chronically ill. 40% of the children and adolescents in the United States today, in 2020, suffer from some kind of chronic health issue. I can get on and on about that. It's not just the quinolones. There's a lot of other topics.
Anti-anxiety medication, anti-depression medication, ADHD medication is just, they pump those medication to kids, and then they wonder, when they become adults, they're not able to function and be productive citizen, and they're continually getting more medication for symptoms that they develop.
Were they trying to push you towards the psychiatric route when this happened to you? Did they try to put you on psychiatric medications?
Anxiety medication, yes. On anxiety medication. Yeah.
As a rescue, sort of?
Because most of the doctors thought that I have anxiety. Yeah, it's an anxiety attack. It's a panic attack. How is that panic attack when the members, just segments of the body are flying in the air? But yeah.
How was your family's response to all of this when this happened to you? Were they supportive? Did they believe you? Were they with you along the way?
Like I said, I withdraw from my life, from my friends, because I couldn't, it was in a way shameful that I was the one gathering all these people and be happy all the time, and all of a sudden I was not able to be myself. So I withdraw from the world and from my family, except my husband, because he lives with me. He's the one who had to deal with it and literally babysit me for many, many months, physically and emotionally. So my husband was supportive. My daughter was trying to write to Miss Ellen DeGeneres show. She was like so appalled of what happened that I had to do something, mommy. I have to do something. After a year, I started talking with people and tell them what happened. But I'm not myself. So I still am not there with friends and everything. It's hard.
I have to say, on a positive note, that it takes time. And both you and I are still fresh into this, ridiculous, insane journey. But as time passes on, I guess people somehow learn to adjust to the new norm. They grieve over the person that they've lost, and they try to form a new life. And as difficult as it may be, it is the only way forward. And I can attest to that right now, 2 years down the line, even though my health is not doing so well, to say the least, I'm in a much better place. To anybody who has been hurt and is listening to this right now, there is hope. There is still a life after this happens. If you have not been killed by this, you still have something to do in this world.
And like I said, I'm grateful that I'm not in a wheelchair like other people. I'm grateful that I wake up every day. So every single morning when I wake up, I thank God. I didn't die last night. My heart didn't explode, or my vessels didn't explode. And I pray that I live 4 more years. So my daughter is 18.
I understand. I'm sorry. It's extremely hard, and it's extremely traumatizing having to go through this experience. Your reaction, your response is, natural human response to something so devastating. It's because you lose a part of yourself, a big part of yourself, your abilities, the person you knew. You don't even recognize yourself after something like that.
I feel, how somebody would ask you out for a drink, and they give you that rape drink, that substance, I don't know the name. I feel raped. You offer me a drink and I trust you, and then this happens. So you go to the doctor trusting and in need to fix a problem, and you end up with your life taking away, or the whole life going upside down.
Only here, every cell of your body has been raped by
Yes.
by this chemical. You feel betrayed. That's
Yes.
that's how I felt.
That's the word, betrayed.
Yeah, I still feel great disdain to the system, and it's, I find it very hard when I go to rotations in the hospital or whatever, and I have to put on the white cloak or whatever. I feel these really strong negative emotions and animosity towards it, and it's very challenging.
I don't know how you're going to do it, because it's going to be a huge challenge for you to stand up to your fellow doctors and let them know, hey, what the heck are you doing?
I can promise you, I've already been doing that, and I'm already quite notorious among my university. I'm labeled the anti-vax kid, because I dared to criticize the Gardasil and Gardasil 9 vaccination and the faulty clinical trials that were conducted on it, how Merck lied about the placebo, told innocent young girls that they're taking, that they would be taking saline, and instead injecting them with a toxic aluminum adjuvant, and all the injuries. And so they don't like to hear that.
Talking about that, as a parent, I'm very scared. As a parent of a daughter, they're going to make this vaccine mandatory. I'm very scared about that. And I'm thinking, where am I going to move? What country can I move where it's not going to be mandatory?
It's insane. And especially now, after this pandemic, this is going to give a really big pushback against those that are hesitant with vaccinations. And this is going to push legislation. I have no doubt at all whatsoever about this, that they're going to, enforce pretty hardcore draconian laws, on forcing people to take these vaccinations. And there's going to be repercussions if you refuse. Social repercussions, professional repercussions, God knows. I mean, it's insane. And the complete, lack of responsibility from our own governments, that are elected democratically, is what's going on right now. I don't know how to call it anymore. But it's, what do you do? Right? We live in dystopian sci-fi reality.
I asked my daughter's pediatrician when he suggested the HPV vaccination, and I said, listen, sir, what kind of preservative your vaccine has? I would like to know before you stab my daughter with that. Oh, I don't know.
Of course. They never looked at an insert one day in their life, most of them. Do you know what I studied about vaccines in medical school? Okay, I'll tell you what I studied about vaccines in medical school. And my medical school is pretty well esteemed in Europe. Semmelweis University in Budapest. People can check it out. Some pretty fine doctors came out of this place. And we were taught the schedule. We were taught the basic, science behind immunization, and that's it. Nothing else. Nothing about adverse events. Nothing about recognizing them. Nothing at all. So what I'm saying is this whole system, the way it's structured, is horrifically impaired.
I feel people are waking up.
Yeah.
And they're more aware of, and that gives me hope. And I think we're part of them. And I think every victim out there, or parent for that matter, should investigate and don't trust the system, and do your own research and try to fight a bit, at least your family and your friends. If we all do this, I think it would be on a bigger scale, a big help, and fight the system.
I agree. Can you please stand up and show us the shirt that you're wearing?
So there is this actually group in Canada. They rally every year and they bring awareness of these fluoroquinolone antibiotic side effects. So I bought them from them. So I know I look ridiculous when I go to doctors, but I go like this. Maybe from all the doctors I see, one I can, make him question, hey, listen, maybe it's true, something true about this. And he will start to investigate. From all the, I think, 40 doctors I've seen the past year and a half, only one was aware of the fluoroquinolone toxicity. Only one.
The same thing I encountered with Accutane. I went to multiple neurologists because of my cognitive issues, and I told them, and they told me, what? Retinoid affecting the brain? I never heard of that. And when you look at the basic science of hypervitaminosis A, just overdosing on plain, simple vitamin A, not a synthetic vitaminoid, we know that it affects the brain profoundly. So what the heck are you talking about? How can you be a professor of neurology and be perplexed by me saying that, this has caused me neurological issues? It's insane. I'd like to ask you also, what would you say to those who have been harmed, damaged by all these pharmaceuticals, whatever they are, and they're sitting right now alone in the closet, afraid to speak out? What would you tell them? What would you have to say to the message to them?
That I can relate, and I know how horrible it is. In my case, in many cases, there is hope to heal somewhat, but I think there is a reason for what happened to me. I'm not dead, so it didn't kill me. So I think the reason that I'm not dead is that I'm able to speak up. I'm trying to get a negative situation into somewhat positive. So maybe this is the reason I'm still alive, to speak up and try to bring awareness and avoid more victims to surface. So this is the way I see it. If you're alive, there is a reason for it. And I found my reason to speak up. Maybe yours is the same.
So you think people should come up here and talk and share their story?
Oh, I encourage people, please tell your stories, because first of all, we have to do it for ourselves and for others. If we don't speak up, how anything can change. And the more people we speak up, the more power we're gonna have. Eventually it will happen. This is my belief. Maybe not in the next few years, but it will happen because people are waking up. And I encourage you guys, please tell your stories, as painful as it is.
You know, I want to tell everybody who's listening to this has been harmed by these pharmaceuticals. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You did nothing wrong, okay? Do not stay in the closet. Do not hide in the shadows.
And it's not enough. It's not enough to talk with each other, okay? We need to be out there. Don't be afraid to put your face out there, because, you know, this is me now. I have to say goodbye to the person I was, the way I looked, the way I felt. And this is me now. So I need to do something. I need to do something better with this situation than suffer, you know?
Yeah.
To bring awareness.
So I, first of all, want to thank you so much for coming here and finding the courage and the will to speak your story, your truth, to share with everybody who's willing to watch this. Because it's so important, this message. People need to be made aware that this is real, that iatrogenic injury, drug-induced brain body damage is a real thing, and it's happening all over the globe. It can be you, it can be your family member, it can be your friends, it can be your coworkers, it can be anyone. So please, everybody who has been harmed, come up here and tell your story. And I want to wish you recovery as much as you can.
Thank you.
Just the most meaningful and peaceful life you can attain after having to go.
You too, Ido. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this, because getting on a platform is very hard, and you gave me a platform to speak, so I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much, Daniela.
Thank you, and you take care of yourself.